Hello traders and welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 139. In this one we're gonna have a monthly top-down analysis because we had the monthly close last week, and already we're just 1 week into the trading month and we're already in a huge movement. Right, so currently we have a lot of going on the macro perspective, investors shifting their money. We're having a lot of volatility in the market, which is causing a lot of moves across all different asset classes as well. But of course, if one asset class is dropping, another one has to increase because money constantly flows, right? And we can see currently, just by looking at the chart, money is flowing into the Dixie. People think into the dollar, I mean, not the DXY index. People think that this is the safe haven. This is where they actually position their money in, and we see a big increase of the value of the dollar, and of course a decrease of the value of the pound, of the euro. Surprisingly, the Aussie keeps going up, but of course in this video we're going to explore every single one of those pairs, try to determine where they can potentially go for the remaining of the week, and of course practice top-down analysis, because I know a lot of you struggle with top-down analysis, determining the direction, the trend, and all of this stuff that is essential. Okay, so make sure you focus, relax, just watch it, mark your charts with me, and let's go. I'm also very excited for this one because every single month I pick a giveaway winner. I give away all of my services to a one lucky person that has been providing me with amazing comments, with supports throughout all the videos that I publish. And for this month, this is Mr. Terence Banda. So congratulations, brother. Thank you so much for the support. You have been here for a long time, commenting on every single video, leaving your positive words to me, which of course keeps me pushing. Just seeing your comments, this is the only thing that keeps me going, of course, on YouTube. So thank you so much. I will be waiting for you to respond to me, and looking forward to working with you. All right. Of course, if you are new to this channel, it is all about trading. I plan to post more, kind of differentiate a little bit, make it a little bit more towards wealth creation as well, investing, personal finance. So make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell in order not to miss the future updates. And of course, before we start, make sure to check out Forex.com. Amazing broker for crypto, for stocks, for currencies as well. Pick their eco account, because for every single lot that you trade, the commission will go towards planting 10 trees. I'm really supporting them on this initiative. Make sure to do so as well. Links are down in the description. Check them out. And right now, let's head into the monthly analysis. Alright, as always, let's start with the dollar, which, as I said in the introduction, it is currently where the money is flowing. We're having people exiting their positions, for example, outside of the euro, the pound, maybe even the Russian ruble, and everything actually flows right now into the dollar, which of course we have seen an increase. Actually, in fact, since June 2021, we have been pushing to the upside. But again, if we just combine this with technicals, all right, if I just zoom out a little bit, kind of since 28, since the big crash right there, as you can see, we have been overall increasing in value, right? So what I first want to bring your attention is this recent piece of price action right there, which in fact is an overall consolidation, all right? But we had this massive leg right there to the upside. The market kind of gave this little structure right there. Then it pushed. It looked like the market is reversing right there because we broke this structure right there. And this is correct, right? But if I go to a quarterly or an yearly price action right now, this is going to be just a push. This is just going to be a pullback. And then potentially we are about to head for a new high, okay? So what is really important to note right there is after this push to the downside right there that happened in 2017, the beginning of 2018, in fact, started to push higher. And at that point, right, we can see that our range was this, for example. This is the push, this is the pullback. And in fact, the market actually held below this high. It's not a lower high. This is just a high that created the break of structure. We pulled back very correctively. It took actually 2 years to pull back to tap inside right there. And since then, we actually started initiating lower, okay? But again, according to the laws of price action, right, this is stupid to say, the market should be causing a new lower low and continue to the downside, right? But what we saw is that the market actually respected this sort of demand level right there, right? Tapped it once right there, reacted, we were still bearish, then tried to push again lower, it failed, and since then we have been shifting to the upside, right? So what this immediately means is that we're overall in a consolidation, right? And pretty much if you actually think of the currencies, the majority of the currencies are just consolidating, right? So they have periods of just consolidation, they have periods of a little appreciation, then they have depreciation, then they have appreciation again. It's just a cycle, right? Goes like this. But again, we as traders, it is very important for us to identify what is going to happen right now so we can capitalize on intraday moves. So we don't really care what is happening on the macro perspective if we are not really macro traders. But right now, what I get a feeling is happening is that if this demand is actually holding, if this high actually failed to put up a new lower low, then we can potentially expect the market to push into the highs and even target 103. Right, so this is very big thing to mention because right now we're actually going to encounter also a supply level. We're just tapping inside it on the monthly, so this is going to be very important level to actually monitor. But what we also see, which is going to be making everything a little bit tough to analyze. So we had last month close as an overall indecision, right? So I'm not sure if it first pushed up, then down, or first it pushed up, down, and then back up. But we did not do much last month. And again, it was one of the trickiest months that I've been trading with. And just this week, 1st of March, right now we're, 5th of March. So we just had like 4 days of March and we're already making the volume or the amount of pips that we made through February and even January combined, right? Well, yeah, we overall moved 300 pips. And since the open of this one, we have moved 200 pips, right? Just for 4 days. So this is huge. Right? So the biggest question right now is if you actually are doing top-down analysis like this and you're analyzing the monthly, the weekly, and the daily candle, is to try to imagine how will the candle look like, right? So currently we started with a big push. So do we imagine that the market is just going to continue going higher, or do we think that it's going to retrace right now a little bit? How do you imagine for this candle to close? Well, personally, I think it's gonna close bullish, right? But of course, right now, after this week of massive pump to the upside, we are probably going to have some sort of a pullback, right? Of course, we never know when. But again, as we spotted right there, we're currently encountering a monthly zone, which I will just reduce to weekly, which is this sort of area, and we're just tapping inside it, okay? Again, on the weekly time frame, we have discussed that we have been bullish since the downside right there. Since actually this structure was broken, I have been bullish. And we have been creating higher lows right there, higher lows right there, higher lows, push, pullback, higher low, push, pullback, higher low, push, pullback, higher low. So absolutely bullish market right there. You can't really say that this is bearish. And right now we're pushing into the highs, creating a brand new range, which means that this right now is my new major higher low on the weekly. All right. So right now, what is important to note is that we're again encountering this area right there around 99 round number. So we can potentially expect some sellers to enter from there. And again, right now it's gonna become difficult to analyze because we're not having the most pretty price right there on the daily and on the 4H, because we're just in this nice push into the highs. Every single day opened up with a gap. We had a big gap also on Monday. So right now we're just pushing into the highs, creating a new higher high. So again, as you are in a higher high on the weekly, on the daily, and on the 4-hourly time frame, you should be a little bit careful with taking longs because you can of course expect a pullback to the downside. So what I'm going to be waiting for is for the market to create a high. So to actually create the higher high, to start pulling back, and then potentially I'm going to be starting to look at potentially for areas like 97 for us to have, for example, let's say I would love to see at least 1 week of a pullback, and then for example 2 weeks of push. So the monthly candle can still close bullish, but of course we're gonna have some sort of a pullback to get in a little bit lower and then to potentially ride it to the upside with the monthly trend. Okay, so this is pretty much it. If I drop to the 4H, yes, we had this beautiful push right there, and as you can see, the market pulled back below 50%. Then pretty much what my analysis was right there is that we broke the complex correction. We created a higher high. Then we pulled back right there to create a new higher low. Beautiful. Double bottom right there. Long. Creation of a new higher high. Then we pull back, created a new higher low right there. And since then we have been just pushing, gapping a little bit on the way and not creating very nice structure. So yeah, according to me, I would love to look for something below 50% on this huge leg. So this is the first area, which is around just below 97. Right? But currently we're just pushing, so we don't know if the market's not just going to pull back and continue carrying on to the upside. So I want to be mindful of everything. So where is my last structural point? Well, I would take this whole area right there because this is where we actually created a clear pullback, and this is where we actually exited outside of the range. So I can even drop a range, something like this. Okay. It's becoming a little bit complex right now because we're working with a lot of ranges. But currently, if I'm just analyzing intraday, this is how I'm going to be looking at it. Okay. This is my last push that caused the break of structure. Yes, we're tapping into supply, but we're still bullish. Okay, so if I have a pullback right now, tap inside this level right there, I'm going to be looking for longs and for continuations. The other scenario will be to immediately start pumping into the level right there. And then from here, we have to actually really look for something to happen. And I think we can actually have a week of consolidation. Because again, guys, the market is not going to turn like this, right? We're not just going to tap and reverse. It's going to come in, it's going to liquidate a little bit, it's going to manipulate a little bit, and then it's going to start going down. So after this huge, like we have 2 weeks of pushes into the highs, I do think a pullback is needed. But again, when it's going to happen, we have to see. So hopefully March is going to be nice to us, providing some clear setups. But right now, this is how I look into it, just intraday, knowing that overall monthly, weekly, daily, everything is bullish. But the biggest detail is that we're currently at a higher high, right? So we can expect a deeper pullback below this 50% of the weekly range. But of course, I keep in mind that the momentum is very strong right now. People are putting their money into the dollar. So a pullback towards 97.80 is going to be good for me to start looking for longs as well, targeting a new higher high. And as we make a new higher high right there and tap deeper into the zone, then I'm going to start evaluating again if we can have a deeper push to the downside. Okay, so this is the Dixie. So far, bullish, looking really good. Let's wait for some sort of a pullback to catch longs. If not, let's wait for the market to get deeper into the zone, then wait a little bit to accumulate, and then potentially go a little bit counter trend. But this is what we're going to be seeing into the upcoming weeks. So make sure you are tuned as always. Next on the list, as always, is my favorite pair, Euro USD. So let's see what is going on right here. So again, if I just zoom out a little bit, we can see that overall the value of the euro has been decreasing since 28. Yeah, we started right there, big push down. So again, as I told you, we're just kind of in a range. And as you can see in the most recent price action, we're also in an overall range. Like if you can just drop it like this, right? But let's explore the details. So I think I have been mentioning those details quite a while. We had this very nice push into the highs. Then we have this very nice pullback right there. We went inside this demand zone. And then again, if this was really about to turn in an uptrend, we should have made a new higher high, right? But no, we actually stopped right there at this supply zone right there. And as you can see, we actually created a beautiful market structure shift formation right there. So we made a new higher high, pullback, higher low formation. We should have made a new higher high, but nope, we actually rejected and we created the MSS. And from there, we actually broke structure and we have been trending to the downside for quite a while already. So again, according to me, if this higher low, supposedly it was not a higher low until it actually causes a new higher high, this one did not make a new higher high. Therefore, this can actually be broken. So for a very long time, I have been calling 1.10. So there we are, 1.10. And right now we are even at 1.09. So this is even 100 pips lower than what my projected targets were. And just looking at the momentum to the downside, I just feel like this is going to crush. This is just going to crush to the downside. But of course, I definitely expect some sort of a reaction. So similarly to the DXY, we're currently tapping inside this monthly demand zone. So we probably are going to have some sort of reaction. But overall, long term, I do believe that we're potentially even going to head below 106 right there, 107. Because again, if supply right now is in control, if we are bearish actually, and if demand right there failed to cause the market to go higher, pairing this with all the fundamentals that are going on and with the overall risk-off sentiment and the euro falling and the GBP falling as well and interest rates and everything, money is flowing onto the DXY. A lot of things are supporting a bearish euro, right? But if we just zoom out on the technicals right now, again, you can see this week, we just opened like the monthly candle again closed. We had a nice monthly candle on EU. This was just a very nice liquidity grab to the upside. Actually took out the previous monthly high right there. And then we just plummeted to the downside and took out the previous monthly low as well. So this is a very big delivery, in fact, right? And just this week we opened, no wick to the upside. We just opened and we just crushed to the downside. Once again, this is, guys, this is almost 400 pips on EU. This I haven't seen in a very long time, right? So the biggest question right now is, what are we going to do inside this demand zone, right? Are we going to respect or are we just going to crush it? Well, this is what we're going to see in the upcoming weeks. So as I said right now, it's a little bit hard to determine a specific outcome because a lot of things can happen, right? But if I just follow the momentum to the downside, I would at least expect a little wick to the upside to be created before we continue going down. Okay, so again, the weekly candle opens next week. We push a little bit higher, we open bullish, then we actually start going down, and this one is gonna close with some sort of a wick. And this is if we're actually about to go bearish. The next situation will be to continue going down and then to start to consolidate, right? So again, judging by the momentum, I don't think we are gonna consolidate. We're potentially just going to continue raging towards the downside. On the daily time frame, it's a bit hard to determine any areas of value, potentially where we can enter from. We had this push, we had this pullback, and then since then we actually initiated lower. So I can take some sort of a range like this, and then if I actually refine this on the 4H, let's see what do we have. Yep, so this is where we actually shifted the structure. This is the last pullback before this very big push to the downside. So I would love to trade this price roughly around this range right there. So as you can see, we have a big development right there, and I'm just gonna take this whole big indecision candle right there, because this one took liquidity to the lows, took liquidity to the highs, so it really stopped out everyone before initiating the move lower, right? And also this is just around 1.1050 key zone. Okay, so the ideal scenario on the EU will be, again, the week to start with a pullback towards these levels right there to create a lower high formation and then to start flushing to the downside. The next outcome will be just to continue pushing lower. Guys, again, sometimes, again, if the market really enters into a trending market, not always it's gonna provide you a big pullback. Okay, so keep this in mind. Right now we're used to having big pullbacks towards the 50%, towards like the 61.8 and all of this stuff. Right now we're just trending, momentum is very high, so usually what you can also expect is just a 38.2. Okay, so if we drop like this, 38.2 exactly right there. So if I have any sort of a pullback, I'm immediately gonna start looking for sales. Then the thing that I don't wish to happen, because it's going to become tricky, is to immediately open bearish. So because if we open bearish, we're right now tapping into a very big demand on the left. So taking shorts is becoming a little bit slightly less probable, but of course taking longs is also low probable because we're just shorts, right? But if we continue to break to the downside, I'm just going to be watching the structure, then potentially we can wait for pullback, lower high, and just keep trend. If there is one thing that you would extract from this video, is just trade the trend until you're wrong, right? So if you're bearish right now, you just keep shorting until you're wrong, right? Until structure gets broken, you just keep shorting, okay? Don't try right now to start identifying some sort of levels on the left and trying to really catch a long, a sniper long, and really get to the bottom and then ride it into the top. No, the market is bearish right now, so keep shorting, okay? So keeping it as simple as possible, this is how I'm going to be looking at it for next week, right? I'm bearish bias on euro. We'll be looking for a pullback towards these zones, but I will also be satisfied with a pullback anywhere kind of within this zone right there. Do we have the wick on the, where was the wick? Yeah, pretty much the wick right there that I would love to see retested is this one on the weekly, but this one is getting a little bit too high right there towards 1.11. And again, are we going to pull back 100, 200 pips almost, then to flush another 200 pips? I don't think so. So possibly just a little pullback of 70 pips around Monday and Tuesday will be enough in order for the market to later continue with the overall trend. Okay, so this is how I'm looking at EU right now. Again, keeping in mind we're in the big demand area, but we're currently bearish, so I'm gonna be keep shorting until I am wrong, and then of course I'm gonna just every day reevaluate, see what is going on, and just flow with the market. Let's look at Euro Yen. So on the monthly time frame, this one is kind of looking a little bit more bullish, right? So we're starting from right there, 2012. We had this massive run into the highs, then we created this very nice pullback. And again, what I said, after a pullback, you would usually expect for the market to create a new higher high in order to determine that we're in a bearish trend. But no, the market actually respected this little supply right there that caused this break of structure right here and started going to the downside. But then what we do is we encounter demand from right there. So if the market is bullish, then it should make a new higher high. But no. So first failure to make a new high, second failure to make a new high, third failure right there to make a new high. So just using this information, I can presume that this market actually has overall sellers inside, right? But again, recently we had this very nice pump into the highs right there that created this overall monthly range. Let me remove this VIP. And we actually tapped below 50%. And we thought at this point that the market is actually going to reverse higher, but no. Let's have a look at the last monthly candle closure after dropping this demand, which we're currently about to tap inside. We had an open and a massive run into the highs. So a lot of people thought that the EJ is potentially going to go up because this was looking extremely bullish at a time. then a massive rejection to the downside, big pin bar right there, and then this week just opens, little wick up, and then just smashes to the downside. Okay, so again, this month just opened, it's been 3 days, and we're down 400 pips. All right, so this is extreme. The momentum is definitely to the downside. So right now, it's really important to actually determine what could happen. Well, of course, we're right now about to tap into demand. We're also into demand on EU. We're supply on the Dixie. We also have to see how USD JPY is doing. But we're also about to break below this low, which is kind of a little bit of a flat low. It's not really flat, but it's potentially going to serve as liquidity, which is just about to get taken out. And then if I try to find a little demand area right there, it's this one. So I'm not saying that I want to go long. I'm just saying that we can potentially expect a little pullback because we're just massively in the new lower low. So we can expect a little bit of a pullback, okay? Then again, the next question is, how is the weekly candle going to develop? Are we going to open, first pullback, create a lower high, and then flush to the downside for one more week? Or is it just going to open right now, flush to the downside, and then from there we have to evaluate and see if we're actually going to initiate any big pullback, and then potentially look for a 50% range like this. Okay, so right now the beginning of the month is, again, as I said, a little bit tricky because we have this huge candle, so we don't much know what to expect. But again, what I will be looking for is for a pullback towards 50% and then to see if we can actually continue going lower. Dropping onto the daily, yeah, from the highs right there, you can see it was looking really bullish at the time. Then we just started to push to the downside, push to the downside, push to the downside. And again, we were looking for longs from here, longs from there, but nope, the market just smashed to the downside. So right now I can drop this kind of a most recent daily because, as I told you right now, the market is in momentum. So you don't want to look for big pullbacks. Okay, the market is just going to pull back very little, catch some more orders, and then start flushing to the downside. And in fact, the 4-hourly time frame on EJ looks pretty good, because we have this push, we have this pullback. So pretty much this range right there is fulfilled. So right now, this is the high, boom, massive plummet to the downside. So this is my high. Potentially, this is my low if, once again, the market decides to start pulling back first thing during this week instead of actually pushing to the downside. So this is my first outcome, pushing to the highs, lower high formation. Then I'm going to be targeting a new lower low and around 125.50. But if we start with a push to the downside, then of course, as I told you on EU, follow the trend until you're wrong. So if we have a push, break a structure, go for a retest, lower high. Let's see if we can create a new lower low, right? If not, then let's see, because you can have something like this. And then the market can potentially start trading higher towards this zone right there, okay? So as I always say in every single one of my videos, it's important to actually flow with the market and be reactive and not predictive. Because right now I cannot tell you what's going to happen because I just don't know, right? And nobody knows how the market is going to open, what it's going to do. We can have a gap and the market can open down there. Okay, so for those that have like specific outcome-based decisions, then you're like, oh, and you start panicking and you start thinking like, okay, what should I do now? No, just relax, let go. But yeah, this is my textbook outcome that I would expect on EJ. A daily time frame extremely bearish. I would expect the market to open with a little wick to the upside and to have at least let's say a Tuesday and a Wednesday bearish, and then Thursday, Friday potentially to consolidate within this range to set up for next week for potential pullback. Okay, so this is EJ. The most important part is to keep in mind we're tapping into monthly and weekly demand, so we can expect a rebound because we're also currently creating a new lower low. So usually after a lower low, the market is gonna pull back, and I can expect, like, let's say this week can be bearish, then the next 2 weeks can be pullbacks, and then potentially next month, April, we can even start heading lower again. Okay, so that's EJ. Keep following the trend until you're wrong. Let's have a look at the Aussies, which have a little bit of a different agenda, and I'm gonna tell you why. Well, the Australia and I also think New Zealand hold one of the biggest reserves in the world of oil. I think they're around in the top 30 countries that are holding the biggest kind of the majority of the oil reserves, the barrels, right? And we can right now see that oil is just rocketing, right? Caused by the war and by other influences as well. Oil is rocketing, and usually Aussie dollar and oil are going to have a positive correlation, right? And usually USD CAD has a negative correlation to oil, so USD CAD should be going down, and USD CAD is also negatively correlated to Aussie USD because also Canada is also an oil-related country. So, and this is why we see huge sell-offs across the euro, the GBP, and other currencies, while Aussie dollar, it's just keep pushing to the upside, right? We can see that last month we actually closed with an inside bar. So but it's already a little bit too late. So again, if this was just the close right there and we did not have this, I would say, cool, well, just pairing it with the direction, we can potentially expect the market to take out the high right there and then either to continue or to reverse, right? But we already took the high of the mother candle. So we're currently pushing into the highs. The monthly candle is not very big, but it's starting to open as bullish, okay? So keep in mind that the bullishness on AUD/USD is not going to be as huge because we're having the DXY pushing like mad and euro and pound dropping like mad. Okay, so this one is having all the bullish DXY right there, but also the Aussie is strong, right? So we're gonna have possibly not so much of a big push to the upside. Okay, but also if you consider the monthly time frame, like, well, we had this demand right there that the market just actually faked. So again, I don't take wicks as breaks of structure. So according to me, this is just a fake out right there, and as you can see right now, we're starting to rebound. Okay, overall, yeah, this pair over, I'm not gonna analyze it like this because it won't make much sense, but overall recently, since this little crash right there, we had this push, pullback, higher low, higher high, pulling back for a new higher low. So right now, the biggest question is, can we head for a new higher high, right? Let's analyze the weekly. So yeah, weekly was a little bit tricky. Like first time we tapped right there, we had a reversal signal right there, pullback, higher low, beautiful higher high. We thought it's reversing, but no, the market just smashed to the downside. Then it pulled back, a new lower high. Then we kind of made a new lower low, but right now we're actually breaking above the last lower high, which is this one, which actually indicates a bullish signal, okay? So yes, on the top, we're going to have potentially this little supply right there to deal with. This is a little bit too little, so we can take like a bigger zone. I'm just going to keep it like this. But currently, we're having some potential reversal signals, as I said, because we have broken above this weekly lower high. And again, it's not much of a confirmed lower high because it did not really break below right there with a body, right? But it still made a lower low, right? We can make a little exception right there. And currently we're breaking above the inside bar. So daily time frame as well, what we can see, it's very good to analyze the daily as well, because we had this buyers prevailing at first right there. And then we actually shifted to the downside with this massive push. And then what I want to bring to your attention is all the supply areas. So first we had this supply right there, right? Then we had this one right there. And then we had this one right there. So I want you to look at the chart and I want you to see how each one of those, if you identified them correctly, gave you a reaction. First, reacted, sold off. A lot of sellers probably. Nope, went in higher. A lot of sellers entering from right there. Beautiful rejection, let's go short. Nope, pushed to the downside. And what it did is it created a new higher high. So have a look how actually the uptrend starts being built up. Then we have a third tap into the extreme right there, and you think, okay, this is it. Right now we're flushing. We had a massive sell-off right there, but what happens is we remain above the last higher low. So higher low right there, higher low right there, higher low right there, and right now we actually smashed. So this, according to me, is just showing us that supply right now has failed and demand is in control, right? So this is just a bullish signal for me. So I am more bullish than bearish on Aussie, which of course does not make much sense looking at the bearish euro and the bearish pound, but it is what it is. It is what we have right now. So my biggest demand, I'm going to take it as this one. On the weekly, it's not very clear. On the daily, we have this massive sell-off. Then we actually pushed into the highs. And then dropping onto the 4H, it gets a little bit tricky because currently we are not in a very nice kind of push phase. It's very slow, very wicky. It's just one candle push, one candle pullback, one candle push, wick, push, wick, push, wick, right? It's not great. And according to me, this is also pretty flat. So we can, come on, why doesn't this disappear? This one is pretty flat right there. So this one can, all of this can actually get taken out. So we can actually tap inside into this level right there and then potentially give the long. Okay, so this is a full hourly level that I would love to trade from. Overall, we can say that our range overall starts from here, ends there, but we can also drop it from here. It doesn't matter as much. But again, I will be looking for potential pullback on the Aussie, but overall, I am bullish. Okay, so what you can do right now is try to identify a supply zone on the left. There is potentially the first one. So as the market taps inside, you don't really go all in shorts. This is just a reaction point for the market to tap, to give you a pullback, then to potentially go in higher again. Okay, so building all of this that we saw on the monthly, weekly, daily, I do believe that Aussie is bullish, but right now it's a bit tricky because we can expect some sort of a pullback. And currently we are just at the higher high. We're not trending very properly. Again, as I said, it's kind of pretty complex, pretty compressed right there. But overall, what I would love to see is a tap into the highs, a nice push to the downside, and then a potential continuation. So this will be like my long-term outlook, which means that after this bullish candle, we can have maybe a bearish one next week, right? Or we can have another push into the highs, and then we're going to initiate a pullback. Again, flow with the market. Don't marry an opinion or don't marry a setup. This is how I currently see it. I would really appreciate also if AU starts with a push to the downside. Then I will just focus on longs, taking it into the highs. But if we start with a push higher into this little supply zone, now we just spot it on the daily, then we can of course expect some pullbacks, ride it a little bit lower, and then start taking longs again with the monthly trend. But first, we're gonna need a weekly pullback and a daily pullback as well, because we're just pushing into the highs. Okay, so having a look at AJ, it's probably looking like the same. We had a push, we had a pullback, push into the highs, massive pullback to the downside, and this was also inside bar. Took out the low, bullish, bearish, bullish, and right now we're slowly starting to push. This one is not very nice. It's in an overall consolidation, which we can clearly see on the weekly. So nothing too much to extract from the monthly actually. Yeah, we're having an overall bullish, and it was also an inside bar, and we just took out the high, of course, which is a bullish signal. Weekly, yeah, it opened with a gap, it looks like, and right now we're just massively bumping into the highs. We are about to encounter a little bit of supply, but again, as I keep telling you, sometimes those are just reaction points, right? On the daily, it's not, wow, this one is a little bit tough. Wow. Very ranging right there. Right now it pushed, it's right now tapping into supply. So what I can expect is to actually react to give us a pullback. So if I drop to the 4H time frame to try to identify a proper level to trade from, like we had at first this supply that responded, but then it actually failed. Then we created this sell, then we had this big buy. So I would take this whole range as an area of value. It's also within the 50%. So again, I am also bullish on AUD/JPY, although this one is pretty related to USD/JPY. But if we have a push inside this zone, I'm going to be looking for reversal signals to take it even higher. Okay, and if we start first with a push into the highs, then I'm also going to be mindful that we can have some shorts incoming, and then potentially as well continue going higher. Okay, so this is my outlook on the Aussies. Again, keep in mind this is driven a lot by the macro perspective and with oil as well. So the overall bias on the Aussie is bullish, but right now on both of those we're creating new higher highs. So we should wait for some sort of a pullback. But as I told you, just keep following the momentum until you're wrong. Right now you can even drop to the hourly and say, oh, higher low, I'm gonna go long. Okay, and you can perfectly do this. And then if you actually initiate a pullback, you're just getting a better price to get in for longs in order for later to catch for a new higher high. Okay, so those are the Aussies. Let me know what you also think about them. All right, let's have a look at the NZDs, which are going to be pretty much similar as the Aussies, and in fact a little bit better, because right here we had this push, we had this slowdown. So this is the rally-based rally kind of supply and demand concept. We had a tap inside at first, we reacted, but as I told you, never trust the first low. We had this massive sell-off right there to potentially introduce a lot of sellers. Then we had this inside bar, and in fact, the NZD is still staying within its mother candles range, so we can definitely expect this high to be taken out. Okay, the Aussie already did so. And dropping right there on the weekly, unlike the Aussie, which is kind of already shifting to the upside, the NZD is still kind of trying to push, still about to actually break above the zone, which is the major lower high. So why is this a major lower high? Because we had a push, we had a significant pullback to the upside, right? And then we have a very nice new lower low that was created with a lot of momentum. So the market then tried to pull back, failed, tried to pull back, rejected, tried again. And right now the more we actually go higher, the more momentum we gather to the upside. So I can really say that this one is probably also going to smash the highs. Okay, we can see there is the first reaction, fail. Second reaction, fail. Right now came in again. It's just about to actually smash it. Okay, so the biggest question right now is, are we just gonna first smash it first thing in the week, or are we gonna first get a pullback? I would personally love to trade from anything that is within this big candle right there. Currently we're about to encounter this guy right there. We're just inside. So again, I would really love if the market opens bearish, pulls back right there, taps inside higher low, and then guys, you can get in along with big confidence that it's actually gonna smash this level right there. So dropping onto the 4H, what we can see again is a little bit massive sell-off right there. A lot of us thought that this is actually a short signal. Nope. Pullback, lower high, tried to push lower, failed, higher high, and then we just started to chop around, and we have been very slowly actually continuing into the highs. These prices right there are pretty flat, so I don't love them, and we have this very nice area to potentially look for buys. So again, my ideal setup on NZD/USD will be a potential tap inside this zone right there, and then potentially taking into a new high. But if we first actually take out the high of this inside bar, then of course we can again start expecting a pullback. But in order to expect a pullback, then you have to wait for the 4-hourly to shift as well, which is gonna take some time. Okay, so NZDs overall are bullish. I do expect the 0.69 to get taken out, and this inside bar to get taken out, and then from there we have to adjust. So again, the scenarios, as I keep repeating myself, but ideally I would love to see a push to the downside first, then a long. But if we actually push into the highs first, then we have to adapt. So stay tuned for my Tuesday analysis, where we're gonna actually have a look at this. NZD/JPY, probably the same. Yep, it's also just about to tap into the inside bar. We had a push, we had a pullback on the monthly inside bar last month, which is good. And yes, so right now this one tried to, on numerous occasions, to actually break below this low right there, which is the major low that caused this big push to the upside. We kind of broke this first one, respected lower high, that right now we are at this lower low, right? But it looks like the market is just going to take this high. And if we take this high, then we have a reversal signal, which means that the trend is changing. So we can start looking for longs. The weekly though on both NZDs is not yet longs, but what we can see is a similar occasion to what I showed you on the Aussies. If we take every single supply and drop it like this, we're going to see that all of them are just reacting, but none of them is actually making the move. So right now we are about to tap into the last one. We're actually already tapping in, just deleted it, this one right there. So again, as I said, the perfect outcome will be for the market to actually give us a pullback towards, let's say, this zone right there. If I refine it onto the 4H, yeah, it's not very clear, but it does look good, right? We have this sell-off, we have this push lower high, then this sell-off tried to make a new lower low, but failed. And then since then, we actually started reversing. So let's see if this supply is gonna hold, so we can have a push to the downside, tap inside this zone, high-low formation, and then again, with confidence, we can target a new high. So those are the NZDs. Again, both of them are bullish, but they have not yet changed their weekly trends. So I hope this week we're actually going to have a break of these ones. So this can actually determine a new potential uptrend. So then we can even start targeting the higher highs. But again, we never ever know what's going to happen. Maybe it's just going to liquidate the high and then just start to massively plummet to the downside. Something's going to shift. Maybe oil is currently in a boom and bust cycle, right? So oil might actually pop, which means that the NZDs and the Aussies can actually go down. We never know, but so far intraday it's bullish. I would love to see a pullback at first and then get into the train. USD/JPY is a really tough pair to analyze right now. Like, yeah, if you just zoom out a little bit, you can see that since 2014, like we made this low right there and we have never broken it. And then of course we have this high right there. And overall, we have been only trading within the mid zone right there. So currently we are just at the highs. It looks like a hard high. We have been ranging for 1 month, for 2 months already, just creating indecision candles. It's also an inside bar, I think. Yeah, it looks like it's an inside bar. So we have this sort of inside bar. So we can expect either a break to the high or a break to the low. If this is a higher high, again, we should expect the market to pull back, but the DXY is very strong as well. But again, this is also the DXY for the JPY. Here's the JPY. This is how I call it. Nothing too much to extract from the monthly, except that we can potentially next week attack the previous weekly low, right? And we can even attack this monthly inside bar low, right? So make sure to also mark them with text so that you know actually what those levels are. But yeah, you can see on the weekly, nothing too much to extract, right? We had this push into the highs. It did not actually break. So we have an inside bar. And yeah, we have been ranging for 4 weeks right now. So pretty tough to analyze on the daily. The range even intensifies. Overall, we have been bullish. We first broke above this structure right there. We pulled back higher low. Then we had a higher high right here. So this means that this is our demand. And we tapped inside this demand, responded, failed. Tapped again, responded, failed. So again, I do think this demand might actually fail. So we can take out the weekly low, and then we can even take out this low. And then from there, we have to adapt. And then we have to see, okay, Is there a possibility for the market to go even lower towards 1150, which is a very nice rally-based rally right there, type of demand? Or are we just gonna take out the liquidity and start rushing into the highs? So again, if you're trading right now UJ, good luck. It's looking a little bit tougher, but yeah. So pretty much we have all of those, the weekly, the daily, the monthly inside bar, daily bullish structure, weekly indecision. So a little bit tough. And if you drop to the 4H, yep. So we again had this demand right there, which was looking pretty good. We also shifted the structure, then the market pushed. It actually just faked it. It did not really make a new high. And right now we're back into the range. Okay. So my biggest tip on UJ will be to give it some time, right? Because just if you want my honest opinion, this one is just a range, right? It's just a range and you're currently trading within the range, right? But of course, if you trade at the good places within the range, which is like either the highs or the lows, then you're good. But currently, I think this one is more in the middle. If we take this range overall, right, the high taking shorts should happen above the 25%. And if I trigger the this one, shorts should happen in this lower portion right there, right? So I do think we can actually take out this weekly low right there, maybe tap into the lower portion of the range, which is right here, and then start heading higher. Again, we never know, but my biggest tip on UJ is to give it some time, see what it actually wants to do, because yeah, you get in long right there, nice trade, but right now it's back into it. So what do you do? Do you take longs again? I personally don't trust the second tap into demand, because if we actually made such a big move higher and we're already down there breaking this move higher, lower, then yeah, it doesn't look too good. Okay, so UJ, a little bit 50-50, stay tuned. Hopefully some clear price will present so we can actually get a better chance and a better understanding of this pair. All right, let's have a look at the GBPs, starting from GU. So last month we had kind of an indecision, doji, pin bar, whatever you like to call it. We had a big wick up, a big wick down, and then we actually recovered, overall closed bearish. This month, actually this week, we just opened, created a little bit of a pullback to the downside, and right now we're crushing to the lows, okay? So what this immediately means to me is that this demand right there has failed to put up a new high. So this right now is becoming weak. So we are about to target this low right there. Yeah, let me just mark it like this. So pretty much I expect GBP USD to continue going down, and pairing it with the bullishness of Dixie and bearishness of EU. I do think there is a high confidence for this pair to continue going lower. And again, we have analyzed that this pair is overall bearish for a couple of weeks. Right now, we had this weekly supply that caused a beautiful break of structure. We pulled back. We consolidated right there for around 4 weeks. Right here before actually this is not last week. The week before this one, we actually plummeted very strongly to the downside. We actually rejected a little bit, which already provided the pullback. So this week we opened and we crushed to the downside. So my biggest expectation is for the market to take out 1.3150, to close actually below it, to fake it out, and then to start initiating a pullback. Because right now we have a new supply zone being created right there. But in order for this one to be fully validated, we need to see a close below this level. Okay. On the daily, we can see this massive drop. We had the pullback. So we had a little bit of a range right there, but there were a lot of opportunities to catch. My team smashed GU this week, literally. We had a person taking above 30 risk to reward trade on a single trade on GU, his biggest trade in his life. So yeah, massive trades on GU. Right now we are about to tap into this demand. So again, the biggest question is, can we first have a pullback so we can get a better price to sell and then we can target the low? Or is it the first thing that the market's gonna do is tap the low and then potentially initiate a pullback? Okay, so 2 scenarios for me personally. Let's see if we have something clear to trade from on the 4H. Yep, so we had this push, we had this pullback, and right now the last break of structure is right there. So keeping it simple as possible. This is the last break of structure, then this means that this is my supply, then this means that this is my range. So if I have a pullback anywhere above 50%, if we just tap like 32.20, I am gonna be looking for sells on GU. And then again, the next outcome will be to take out the low. And usually what GU does after it takes out the low, it initiates a pullback. So if we take out the low, then we can of course start expecting the pullback. We can have a new range, tap inside the new daily zone, which is this one right there. And then eventually, if the DXY is strong and if everything goes as planned, we can potentially push lower, right? So my 2 outcomes on GU, first one is this one. First the push, take out the liquidity below the weekly low and even the monthly low, right? Yeah, it's monthly low right there, weekly as well. Or first of all, initiate a pullback, tap inside the zone, lower high, and then again, we just target the low. Okay, so 2 outcomes on GU. Let's see which one is gonna play. We can have something completely different as well. GJ also kind of still ranging at the top. We had a massive rejection last month, and right now we're already starting to initiate lower. So does this suggest bearishness? Well, kind of, but if you're really honest with yourself, currently the market is just in a range, in a consolidation, and we just happened to actually short from the top right there, triple top created, push to the downside. Right now we're about to encounter potentially a little demand zone right there, as all the currencies right now, EU, DXY, everything is currently encountering something, so we can expect a little bit of a pullback. This kind of structure is broken, so it's very debatable if this is major or minor, because this higher low did not actually cause a new higher high completely, just wicked it. So I'm not really sure. But yeah, we're about to tap inside this zone right there. Let me just refine it to this one. We're just tapping inside. We have actually caused the break of structure already. The market is looking like it's bearish. We had a lower high, lower low, lower high, boom, massive lower low. So again, similarly to GU, we're having this lower high formation right there. So I would expect to pull back towards this zone. Yeah, this one even looks textbook. It's very nice. So this is the range, right? This is the supply. If I have a tap inside this one right there, I'm going to be looking for shorts. Then again, the biggest question is how are we going to develop? There is this little base right there that we can potentially look for longs. So first thing is, of course, we can initiate going lower, and then of course start trading a pullback, right? And then the second thing is first to initiate a pullback and then just smash it to the downside. Okay, so those are the 2 outcomes that I would expect to happen. If you wish to trade a reversal, so if you wish to trade a pullback trade, make sure that you wait at least for like an hourly change of structure, or even better, the 4 hourly, right? Personally, in my team, we utilize the 50-minute, but of course we use also other confluences, right? But yeah, pretty much bearish price on GJ, looking for shorts, and then again, but first looking for a pullback, and it really depends how the pullback will form this week. Our first gonna actually open bullish to fill up the daily wick. Let's say we open, push to the upside, maybe one bullish day, and then the next day, of course, or maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, we can start flushing to the downside. So let's see, stay tuned for my Tuesday analysis. GA, I'm just not gonna be, wow, look at that. I'm removing this pair, by the way, from my watch list because I never trade it. I never actually get it right. So yeah, massive run into the lows, this one with the weak pound and with the strong Aussie. This is the perfect pair for position traders as well, because it moves more like on a macro perspective. But yeah, I'm just not gonna cover it because I don't know what to say. This one, it just keeps moving much faster and faster and faster. So all I can say is that I would like to see a pullback, right? Like I would love to see a lower high. But yeah, for the GA traders, good luck in adapting with this one. With this strong momentum, currently we are about to encounter this demand as well. But just looking at this momentum, you don't expect for the market to reverse from there, right? So give it some time, let it develop some structure, and my biggest tip will be to just follow the trend on the 4H, right? It always provides you lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, so keep following it. And of course, Euro GBP, my other pair that I just don't like at all, right? So we had a big rejection right there on the monthly. Right now we're already initiating lower, and we're just taking the liquidity below these lows right there. So we are potentially about to travel towards these zones right there. So if EU is also weak, we can expect also Euro GBP to become weak, but also the pound is weak. So this pair is a complete mess. I don't know how you guys are trading this one. But overall, the weekly is bearish. We had a little bit of a pullback. Right now, we're creating a break of structure, which also creates a brand new weekly supply. We can, of course, take this one on the day to make it a little bit smaller. Let's say something like that. Break of structure right there. We also grabbed a slight bit of liquidity right there. So we have a liquidity grab, which is good. So we have our range right now. And if I'm looking to trade Euro GBP, this is how I'm gonna do it. Okay, 4H, yeah, 4H is still valid. Yeah, so we have a push, looking for a pullback towards the zone, and then taking a short. All right. So guys, those are the GBPs. Overall, I'm expecting shorts. Definitely, I'm short bias on G, I'm short bias on GJ. The biggest thing about them is that they need some sort of a pullback. But again, as I told you, in current conditions, sometimes you just have like a 38.2. So you can actually drop like a normal fib right there, 38.2. Sometimes it just drops after the zone, right? So keep following the structure until you're wrong. Keep shorting because everything is pointing out to the downside. Don't try too hard to catch reversals, right? If you don't know how to do it. And yeah, make sure to flow with the markets. With big steam, it looks like gold is heading for a new higher high. So currently we are about to potentially try to breach above 2040 or 2080, I should see, which would be a new all-time high on gold, which is quite exciting. Because again, it really means that gold is an asset that really appreciates in value. We can see since this chart data right there, we had a bull run, then we had a nice pullback. Right now we have a bull run. We had a little bit of a pullback. It was not as significant as it was right there. But right now, again, a lot of people are putting money into gold as well. As a safe haven, potentially money exits from one place and enters into another. And just looking at the price, it looks like a lot of money is entering into gold. We had a very bullish month. This is very important to note. We have a very bullish month right there. And this month is already opening and is creating a new higher high, right? So I would expect this one to potentially continue in case like tomorrow Russia decides to end the war and we're back on the risk on perspective. And then again, all the asset flow is going to change, right? Of course, this week I was looking for a deeper pullback on this one to either of those levels, but no, the market just decided to start pumping higher. So of course we have to adapt, and as we close this break of structure potentially next week, let's hope so, then we can of course are gonna have new levels to enter from, which is gonna be the first is gonna be this one. And yeah, we have even the pullback right there. So I'm not trading gold. I'm not into gold at all. So this tends to work with slightly different strategies than I use. But yes, it's overall pushing very strongly into the upside. I know a lot of people are killing gold. And my biggest tip will be to just follow the sentiment. It is currently bullish. We're having a break. So potentially wait for the retest and then continue going higher, right? Follow the 4-hourly structure. Because yeah, right there, I was looking for those daily zones, but the 4-hourly just said no. We had this push, we had this pullback, then the market shifted right there, gave us a pullback. There is a beautiful higher low that you can enter. Right now, we're having a new higher high. So you can mark your major higher low, which is this one. Then expect a pullback, tap inside, and keep longing until the momentum is there. Okay, so guys, the gold traders, let me know how you are doing. Hopefully, you're capitalizing nicely on gold. The asset is appreciating in value, so let's long until we see otherwise. Not much of a development across the indices market and the stock market as well. So as I told you right now, with the rumors or with the Fed intending to rise the interest rates, usually money is going to flow more into the dollar into savings account, which means it actually exits the stock market because it is right now perceived as risky. And as the interest rate increase, then there are more opportunities to invest money elsewhere. So stocks are not like the best option right now. And we're already seeing it, right? Since January right there, we have seen two consecutive bearish months. So it's very key to see what actually this one is. Again, pretty much the same across all indices, right? If we drop to the weekly, last week was a huge indecision. We had a great recovery right now. This week actually is an inside bar, which is of course great. But again, I think right now the market is slightly bit indecisive, right? Some stocks are pushing up, some stocks are falling down. There is some sort of kind of a displacement, right? But yeah, the lower it goes, the more I buy. So this is the strategy right now in this inside bar. So let's see if actually US30 can introduce some new buyers into the market. Nothing too much on the daily. What we see is that the 4H is kind of trying to reverse. We're currently having this demand, kind of push, pull back, held, try to push, failed, pull back again, held, and right now we're about to potentially try to actually reverse. But if this demand fails, then I would expect the inside bar low to be taken and then to potentially tap into a lower area of demand, which is potentially this one right there, which looks pretty good. It was a major pullback before a massive move higher. And again, currently we can say we're reacting from this one. And again, as I keep telling you with the pairs, sometimes those demand levels are just reaction points for causing the market to pull back just to later breach for a lower price. Okay, so I keep an open mind. I'm dollar cost averaging into the market right now. It's a very good time. But again, be careful when trying to long this one or when trying to trade it because it's a little bit uncertain right now and it's not really long bias yet. Okay. Same with Nasdaq. So if I have a look on the weekly candle, we had a massive rejection from this zone once again. And this week we are slightly bit bearish. Of course, we know that the wicks tend to get filled. But again, in terms of the daily, we are still bearish on the daily. So we have this break of structure, this push, this pullback. So right now this looks like a beautiful lower high for the market to just continue going lower and maybe come and test a lower level. Okay, so once again, be careful. Don't try to go long all in so far, as long as we remain below this daily level. So make sure to actually mark it like this as a daily zone. As long as we remain below it, we are bearish. Okay, so be careful with this one. I'm going to be looking for a break above in order to fully confirm a bullish trend. And also the tech stocks are some of them are doing bad, so be careful. S&P also after this very nice liquidity grab right there. Monthly candle overall bearish, and we can see that it's actually throwing wicks, which means that a lot of buyers are coming in, but there are still sellers entering into the market, right? So we had a very nice reaction, and next week actually went slower, but again, a very big buy right there. And right now we're having this month opening, so I'm very curious now to see what's going to happen. A potential area that I expect is 4,000. So this is where I would love to buy. Once again, it's kind of this sort of region right there. And we're about to see if this is actually gonna tap if we actually fail to cause a new daily breakout structure. So currently the daily is also bearish on this one. Right, there is the daily supply. We tried to pull back. It looks like a lower high right now. We're trying to hold once again from this little demand that we have similar demand on US 30. Tapped inside, tried, tapped again, tried, tapped again, tried. It's just failing, right? So I would expect another dip to the downside on S&P. So be ready. Be ready for it. If you're investing, then it's a good time. Your portfolio might go a little bit red, right? But that's fine, because in about, like, let's say 2 or 3 years, it's going to be green again. Let me know if you actually want to hear more about stocks and how I invest. Then with crypto, I think right now it's a good time to scale in if you're, of course, investing and not trading it. Monthly time frame overall closed as an inside bar, which I really like. And I can just mark the inside bar high and the inside bar low. And yeah, we can expect potentially for the high also to be breached, because I'm also pairing it with this monthly demand right there, this weekly demand that actually caused a break of structure. And if we really close below 28, then yeah, then this means we're going to revisit all of those lower areas right there. But again, I think with Bitcoin being widely adopted right now, we cannot expect such a huge drop, and then we cannot expect like 3 years of consolidation before another leg higher, right? I am bullish on it, and I do believe right now it's a good time to put some money in, because we first tapped around 33, I think. Yeah, 33. Very nice reaction. Kind of changed a little bit the structure, but not yet. Then we sold off, but on the sell-off, we actually held from this demand right there. Right now, another very big buy, but we're still holding from supply, so it's starting to accumulate a little bit. It's starting to show us some little bit of a bullish signs, right? So I do think overall this whole zone right there is a good buying option if you're looking to scale a little bit of crypto, because yeah, some of you might be holding from up there. Right now it's down there. That's fine, because this area right there is very nice, because if this one actually breaks, then we're really wrong and we have to look for a lower region. So personally, I'm going to be buying right now. I'm just actually monitoring this one. I'm just probably going to buy it from here. I really wanted to buy for 33. So if it actually drops lower, I'm just going to maybe put one amount right now, then another amount if it drops a little bit lower. And then of course, if we dive deeper into this one, maybe a little bit more. And then if we actually continue going lower, then it's an investment that was not successful. And of course, we're going to be making those. But of course, make sure to invest money that you have saved, that you have separated for investments specifically. Okay. Also, Ethereum is looking good. Like on the weekly, we're tapping inside the demand. We reacted very nicely, but we're still inside this kind of supply. So we have a lower high, lower low, lower high, but then the market tried to push lower and it failed, which is kind of making me confident that we have some sort of a chance to potentially push into the highs. And what I see right there is potentially 2 levels for an entry. I'm potentially going to put in a little bit from here, then put in a little bit from there. And then if it keeps dropping, I'm going to put somewhere around 2K a little bit and then just let it go. Because this is like my investment plan. This is not a financial advice, guys. But yes, currently we're still bearish on the daily and the weekly. So actually entering without much of a confirmation like this is a bit risky, but I do think something is aligning. But again, we're just bearish. We tap the highs. We're selling off right now, creating beautiful 4-hourly bearish structure. So be careful with longing this one, right? If we pull back a little bit lower towards like 24, could be another very nice buy, and then lower at 2K, which is really what I want to buy. Ethereum, because especially Ethereum being like being the engine behind a lot of cryptocurrency. I think it's a great investment that has a lot of potential. So of course, let's see. Well guys, I really hope you actually enjoyed this monthly outlook. I hope you found something valuable. Let me know what was your biggest takeaway. Let me know what you actually expect to happen for the remaining of the month. How do you think everything is going to play out? Which pairs or which instruments do you think are going to increase? Which one are going to decrease? Let me know in the comments. And hopefully you stayed up until now and enjoyed it. Make sure that you like the video if you did, subscribe, and stay tuned for my Tuesday outlook on Telegram. If you're watching this during the weekend, have an amazing and relaxing one. And if you're just preparing your charts during the week, let's crush it.